So today's Booster Zoom topic is about writing your bio. And I'm going to just lead off with the fact that writing your bio is like writing anything, honestly. So this is going to be about two things. One is basic ideas about writing, which is scary. People get really in a twist about writing. Writer's block is a real thing, and it can be disabling. People can get very, very stuck around it. So we're just going to talk about the process of writing, and then I've got some ideas and thoughts about what to write about. So we will be talking about these things today. Just making sure we are recording. Yes, we are. Okay, so let's get her rolling. So a brief introduction of me. So again, my name is Robin Mayberry, and I've been a Body Talk practitioner since 2008. I'm a massage therapist, Parama practitioner, and an access trainer. So it's kind of my jam. It's kind of my deal. But I did not know that when I went to college. So I got my degree in English, which is basically, writing essentially, unless you want to like read Chaucer professionally, which few people, it turns out, are hiring for. So it's essentially, I have my degree in writing, but I find writing is something that comes easily to me. I think it's fun. I do recognize that that is not the case for a lot of folks. So therefore, we are going to talk about it today. So when you sit down to write your bio, so let's pause here and imagine. And one thing I want to bring forward right away is that you're going to write your bio a lot of times in a lot of different ways. So you sign up for the IBA, they've got a little bio. You start a website, they got a longer bio. You are like, if you become a member of the PNBA, then we have a bio. So this is something you're going to do many times. And you do not have to do it perfect. Like you cannot do it perfectly. You're just never going to write that perfect bio. So like, let's just put that right to the side immediately. You're going to write it a lot of times and a lot of different lengths for a lot of different places just over the course of your career. So let's let you off the hook right away. And let's just think in terms for tonight's Booster Zoom. Let's think in terms of writing your bio for the IBA. So if you sign up with the IBA as a professional practitioner or practicing member, I think they call it, then you will get your picture and your place and your little bio. And it's little. It's like, I can't remember exactly, but it's brief. And you kind of got to pack a lot in there. And that can get intimidating. So let's just imagine we're going to be working on that. And we will be looking at the whole bio writing scenario just through like, okay, let's write our IBA bio. So we're going to start with this first idea. So we're going to talk about writing to a person. We're going to talk about writing long, and we're going to talk about the fact that you're not going to like it the first time, ever. And that's supposed to happen. And we're going to talk about the fact that this is all like writing itself is like has all this mystique and like, French cafes and, I don't know, like people are, oh, you're a writer. No. But the fact is, the chances are good if you're a certified Body Talk practitioner or if you're anywhere in this group, the chances are good that you are able to read and write. If not, then you'll have to have somebody else write your bio. But you can still speak your bio. Writing is something that the majority of us, if you've had the privilege to be educated, you can do. And we kind of cook up this big story about how hard it is. It really isn't if we just give ourselves permission to just be ourselves. So let's just have that in mind. So our audience is where you start. So when you sit down to write anything, you think like, to whom am I writing here? And so like, let's do the IBA. That one's a hard one, actually. Like I picked that one out of the air, but doing the IBA bio is challenging, and I will tell you why. It's because you don't know who your audience is. So, and in that event, you have to make one up. So if you're writing a bio for your website, you have a little bit better idea of what kind of people you're sort of designing your all your branding for? You know, are you going to be like edgy? Or are you going to be soft? Or are you going to be medical? Are you going to be spiritual? Like you'll have some kind of flavor. But when you're writing just like, this is who I am, and I have no idea who's going to see it, then pick somebody. So you just make a person up in your mind, or you pick a favorite client. Because writing to like everyone is where it gets like hard stop, like brakes are on. If you start to try to type and you have no idea to like, who am I talking to? It just feels like you're talking to a wall, and nothing comes out. And then you're like, I can't do this. So the first order of business is to think about who you're writing to. So I actually have a client, a person. I have a person that I write to. Now, some people make up a client. Some people like, my perfect client would have a sense of humor and be delightful and always on time, and but really love personal growth, blah, 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 blah. You know, you can make a person up. But I have a client that I always think of when I'm writing, and I think, what should I say to her? Because she just kind of fits the bill of like, if every person was like, she gets me. And I feel like if I'm talking to her, then we can just talk. So that's what you want. You want to write to someone that's going to understand what you're saying. So pick a person. Maybe you're writing to your mom. Maybe you're writing to your favorite person that you work with. Maybe you're writing to a mystery person. But pick a person. Because just writing into the air that's where it's like, how do you know what to say? Like if someone said, Robin, have a conversation, I'd be like, about what? With who? You know, like it's there is back and forth even with writing. There is conversation even with writing, and even though the person that you're talking to isn't answering, you can know at least on some level, like, okay, I'm talking to that person. So actually the office stuff, a suggestion I would have is I think it's Miranda and Dawn. I'm pretty sure that's who we're talking to, but if you've ever written, if you've ever communicated with the IBA office, they are delightful. And there's a handful of people, and I know there's other people working there, but I have like conversed with both Miranda and Dawn, and they're just like wonderful to talk to. So if you need to think of somebody at the IBA, think of those two gals, because they're just like friendly and knowledgeable and willing to help and stuff like that. So like maybe you're writing to them. This is who I am. I did write down what kind of sessions get you excited. And I mean, that's kind of a whole other topic. But it's just, I have various kind of starter questions to think about here in this little deal, just to get you like, who do you like working with? Like, so personally, I like working with people that are into the personal growth. Like that's what I do. It's when somebody comes in and says, yeah, I mean, my hip's kind of off, but you know, mostly I'm thinking that I want to get, you know, better at communicating or something like that. Then I'm like, great, we're gonna have a great time. So that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, but you of course will do something different, and you will like something different. Okay, I'm trying to change my page. Okay, there we go. So our first little item is know who you're talking to, or at least guess who you're talking to. The second thing to keep in mind when you sit down to write your bio is that if you sit down to write a 3-sentence bio, you are going to pull every hair out of your head. That is really difficult. And that is a thing. It took me a long time to understand this. And again, this is kind of like a thing that I do. Write it long. So you are better off if you want to do a 3, you know, or God, I forget, it's like a number of characters that you have on the website, on the IBA website. If you want to do something that's concise like that, you're going to go right into editing brain, like, well, not that, not that, not that, not that, until you've got like nothing. So you're better off brainstorming for a while and just write a big thing. And you can use it. I mean, if you like it, you can save it for your website about page, or you can save it in a file. You never know when you're going to need to like do a press release or something, and you have a little thing written up. But start long and just let it roll for a while, and just write about, you know, what well, I have a list of questions actually. But in general, just start writing about like, why are you here? What are you doing? Why did you get your CBP? Why do you want to be listed on somewhere where people can find you? Like, what, what's your deal? And let it go. And if it takes a while to get rolling, that's okay too. You just kind of like, I heard somebody once call it throat clearing. If you just write for a while, I don't know what I'm writing. I don't even know why I'm writing this. This is ridiculous. I can't write a bio. Blah, 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 blah. Something starts happening. It just does. Most of the time, even if you're stuck, if you start putting anything down, it activates that part of your brain that's like, well, okay, well, actually, I like Body Talk because of the experience that I had, and I think that it would be helpful and whatever. So don't think first, write first. Just put your ideas down, and then you can step back and start cutting everything away. That is much easier than like, I must write these perfect little nuggets that say exactly who I am. Good luck. I guess somebody could do it, but that's really hard. Much easier to put a whole page down and then pick out of it, like, actually, I really want to make sure that people know that this is where I live, and I want to make sure that people know that I'm a physical therapist, and I want to make sure that people know that I have, this kind of education, and that I like working this way. Da, da, da. And maybe that's what you pick out of a whole big page. But again, trying to start with just writing a little nugget. No, that's the worst. I saw a cooking show actually lately where they had to make a perfect bite. My husband likes cooking shows. They had to make a perfect bite, one bite. And it was awful. I mean, they just were really struggling. These contestants, it's the same idea. Like, you can't make a bite, make a meal and give them a bite. It's much easier. So keep that in mind. So now, when I send out the follow-up here, and I will try to make this available in some different ways, I'm going to include these questions just so you have something to jump off of, because these are all kind of brainstormy questions. And they're not, and there's probably better ones out there, but these are just some places to start. And I would like to just bring your attention to a couple of them. Here's where, you grab some of these questions and just start writing answers, and something that you like is likely to come through. And maybe you love every word of it, and that's great too. If you go and you're like, I love it, then great, perfect, mission accomplished. You wrote your bio. But it's often a little more challenging than that. But there's a few things I want to just highlight here that you do want to have in your bio. So we were talking, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, about the writing process. But what do you want in your bio? So here's some questions to think about. And I'd like to just touch on this credentials thing. I've gone back and forth with credentials over the years, and I'm on the page of credentials now. There was a period of time when I thought it was just, I don't know, arrogant or something like that. But your credentials, well, first of all, you earned them, I mean, why not? So I see on the IBA website and other websites, like, I know, I look at this kind of stuff. I read other people's bios, like, oh yeah, that was a good one. I see that people are claiming their credentials. So by that, I mean, did you get your college degree? Are you an RN? Do you, what's your, where are you at with Body Talk? What have you studied? I've seen people in their bio even say, like, CBP, and I've taken these courses, kind of thing, because you have. And why not share that information so that the people who are potentially looking to work with you understand that you are educated. You've put your work in, some things about some things. So I am on the side of listing the credentials. I mean, I've seen people, just like every single letter that they've got. But hey, knock yourself out. I sort of try to keep my credentials, like I did here at the beginning. What is it? CBP, Parama BP, BAT, and LMT. Because those are the things that I use. So, I mean, I have other things too, because I'm a credential junkie, but I don't list those because they're not really relevant to talking about my work with Body Talk. What's relevant to Body Talk is the fact that I've studied Body Talk in a couple different ways, and I teach the intro class, and I'm a massage therapist, which, gives me a different sort of level of interaction with the body, and I can offer a service that, that I worked to be able to offer. And so I put that in my bio, and that's in my bio on the IBA, and I just put it right here, and it's on my website, because those are the things I think somebody might get value from if they're like hiring me to do body talk. But some people, like I say, I've seen people just stack every single letter and I'm like, whatever, you earned it. Why not? Isn't that kind of the fun part? The story. So the credentials is, establishing your professional capacities, that's important. And story is important if you have time. So if you've got, or if you have space. So, if you have a teeny weeny little, 2-sentence thing, you're not going to be like, well, I found body talk and that. Your body talk story will be more like on your about page on your website, or, if you have an opportunity to like be a featured practitioner or something like that. Tell your story. That's what people love. I mean, that's what I love. And in fact, I haven't told you very many stories here. So note to self, I'm telling you all facts. Don't have a story ready, but all right, I will tell you this. I will tell you this story. So I do body talk because I was a 911 operator. It was many years ago now. I was a 911 operator because I actually got into that job because I thought I was going to be sending people ambulances, which it turns out to be like that was barely any of the job. But I wanted to be of service and I wanted to be useful. And I was in that job for 8 years, and it was as stressful as people say. It's as stressful as you can imagine to take 911 calls like all day long. And towards the end, I knew that my meter was running out on 911. And somebody told me about this body talk practitioner that was coming to our town once a month, and I went to have a session with her. And I like literally had a spiritual experience where I was like, what is this? Like, I need to do whatever this is. And I had already started learning some energy medicine modalities and things like that. But I was like, this is the thing. And I just knew immediately the first time I ever got a session, like, this is the thing. This is my thing. And I went on to have lots of hormonal repair, which nothing can fix. I had long COVID, nothing can fix, but body talk addressed both those things. Mental health, depression and stuff like that. Like, there is no Western medicine stuff, but body talk really, really helped me, and it allowed me to help other people. So here I am now, and I've been in it these many years, and now doing what I can to help other people do well in their practices, because I think this work is like the best. I think it is what the world is looking for. So that is my story. So if I'm writing a bit of a bio, I do include that. I was a super stressed out 911 operator with migraines and yada, da, da, da. And like, now I'm like, look at me, I'm a thriving example of humanity. And that is my story. And that is why I do it. The lived experience bit is kind of ties in with the credentials somewhat. If you're like, I lived among the Tibetan monks for 7 years, and I bring that to my work, like, mention it. Then I went into some squishy questions. And these are sort of brainstormy kinds of things that you can just play with. I find these kind of difficult, but they've also opened up they've opened up doors for me. Like, I don't know what my friends describe me, but I've answered that question and I'm like, well, I guess they'd say, I don't know, whatever. I don't feel like answering that right now, but I can come up with some things, and I can come up with some things that my clients and other people I've worked with have said. And, it's that brainstorming stuff that I'm going to just be flushing out, like, okay, this is who I would like to share, what the parts of me I would like to share. Because your bio is not everything that you are. It's really, really just a snapshot of your professional self. And in this kind of work, our professional selves, many of us are really like in it from a heart-centered place, and we bring our heart-centered selves to our professional work. But when you're writing a bio, that's really what you are telling people is, this is how I do my job. They don't really need to know that you like to knit or stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of fun sometimes to throw in, or if there's something funny or something. She's got 16, wiener dogs or whatever. I see people add that, and it gives you a little flavor. But really what the information you're conveying is like, why should you work with me? What do I got that maybe you're looking for? And again, you're not going to try to answer that question. You're not going to try to hone in on that. You're going to walk around it. You're going to roam around through it. And then you're going to be like, okay, this, and this. And then you're going to do it again, which brings us to our third. So we're back to the process of writing here. The lousy first draft is, if you have ever like dabbled in anything about learning about writing, this is like a thing that people teach, but it's really helpful to know because like I wasn't taught this in like regular school before I went to, before I like chose a major, like through high school. You wrote a first draft, but it better be pretty close to good, and then maybe you'd write a second draft, but it was just fine tuning. Like that is the way that I was taught. And so then when I came across this idea, like I'm not going to like the first thing that I write, man, it just opened up the door. So this is sort of a similar idea of, just brainstorm and write it out and da da da. But then even after you brainstorm and write it out and pick out what you want and have your little segment that you're like, that feels pretty good, walk away. Like, okay, I think this is what I want to say. I think this is who I am. I think I'm done. That's your first draft. When you're like, I think I'm done, that's a first draft. And you're going to come back to it and you're going to be like, oh, because that's just what happens. We get all sort of like into it and we have all these other ideas kind of floating around and we've kind of tracked down a few and written something and then called it good. Then we walk away and our subconscious mind is still working on it and we're still like drawing in information around it. Then we come back. And for me, usually what I will do when I come back to that first draft is I will remove some more things. That's usually what has to happen. I usually have, a fair amount of things written that I just think is the most amazing piece of writing ever. Like, listen to that sentence. It's just music. It's music to the ears. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, man. So when you come back to your first draft, so you write your first draft and then you walk away. So give yourself time to do this. Don't try to write your thing 14 seconds before it's due so that you can have a minute to walk away. And honestly, really, you can walk away for 5 minutes and come back to it, or just go do something and come back to it. But you'll come back fresh. And when you do, when you reread it to yourself, you're going to see the things that are like, ugh, like when you reread your own work and something goes like, then that's just pause. Like that's where you're going to look at that again. And it's always like that. It's always like that. You're going to be like, ooh, I don't like this, or I need to say more about that, or that doesn't make sense because I took something else out, whatever. And it might just be little tweaks, but give yourself permission. And again, if you are a genius, and it's entirely possible that you will write a perfect thing every single time, and then great. You can have a side hustle writing bios if that is the way. But otherwise, give yourself permission. I beg you, give yourself permission to brainstorm out, pick out what you like and make that your first draft, walk away, then come back. And yeah, when we say write it again and half as long, if most of the time, what will help whatever you're writing is to take things away, even if it's flowery and delightful. Even if you love your sentence, even if you think it's super important, even if you think it's funny or hilarious, or you should stick it in. I encourage you, when you go to rewrite your second, maybe third draft, that you stick to what, like, when you read it over, you feel settled. So you're looking for that feeling of like, okay, I can stand by this. This is who I am. This is like, I feel like this is speaking for me. And then you're going to do it again. So this is just a little refresh. You're writing to a person. If you write to all people, you will be stuck. You're going to just brainstorm and go big and then go small. And then you're going to do that a couple times. You're going to do this again and again. It's not just that you're going to do it in different places, which you will, over time. It's just you're in business now, and so people want to know who you are, and you'll have lots of different times when people are, oh, who are you? And you have to write it down, and that's writing a bio. But also you're going to rewrite your bio Like, I'm never all the way there with my bio. Right now, my bio, I looked at it because of this presentation and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But I always feel like, okay, but I could do that a little bit better. And I've written my bio and written it and written it, and then things change, or maybe your focus changes or your credentials change or whatever. So you're going to change it. You're not going to write it once and bronze it. It's, it's just an expression. It's just words. They come and go. Even if it's in writing, they come and go, and you'll do it again. So don't take it too seriously is really, if I can give you a flavor when you go to sit down and write your bio, it would be, this is not that important, because it isn't. In the whole scheme of things, it's not that important, and it can feel really scary because it feels permanent, but it's not permanent. You know how much stuff is written? And it comes and goes, and people read it and then they don't read it again. It's like, it's just one little blip in a giant universe. It's okay. You can do it badly. Nobody will care. You can do it again the next time. Actually, I'm going to specifically thank you for having the courage to look at this, because this is the kind of thing that stops people from even being in business, because they're like, I don't know what to say. I can't do this. This is too much. I'm not, and it is scary. I'm not saying it's not scary. It can be, because we're afraid of like being judged or being misunderstood, or whatever the stuff is. I'm telling you, nobody is paying that much attention. That's just the reality, but it's still scary. And you had the courage to be here and to invest in your professional growth. And so I hope this was helpful.